And here we are again. We're in heaven, episode 117 of Livestream Insiders for the dateline of the 21st of January 2018. Hello, wherever you are, whether you're watching live or whether you're watching the recorded version of Livestream Insiders. My name's Peter Stewart, and I kind of come from a kind of production and presentation point of view. And Krishna Day is here as well. She's my co-host on Livestream Insiders. And she's the queen of live streaming tech. Hi, Krishna.
Hi, Peter. Great to be back. Lots of more news again this week. I think we've got fewer stories, but some really interesting ones. We try to cram too many things into 30 minutes, I think, often, but we just want to give you as much value as we can. So thank you, everybody who's watching us here live and also on the replay. We'll be checking the comments a little bit later. And in this show today, we've got lots of different stories coming up, interesting case studies, but also some technology updates as well. However, I actually want to let you know, those of you who've never joined us before, that you are in the right place if your goal is to look at how you integrate live streaming into your communications. That might be for social selling, it could be for marketing, it might be employee engagement inside your enterprise, or even crisis management. And Peter and I have been together now, this is our third year of broadcasting, and we got to know each other because of live streaming, and that's how we collaborated. So it was interesting, wasn't it, that we never met for the first number of months, 9 months, I think, that we were doing the show before we actually met face to face in real life.
Absolutely, yes, at a conference. Needless to say, all about live streaming. On the show today, coming up in the next 30 minutes or so, we're going to kickstart things with some new live streaming habits and some stats around that, which have been published during the course of the week. Also, have you heard about the new Facebook Watch Party? You may have been aware of what that is, but Krishna will be explaining to us a little bit later on about how groups will be able to watch the same bit of video at the same time, which of course is a much more collaborative, much more community experience. So how do you go about doing that? How do you make sure that everything is kind of dovetailing together to make sure that happens? Krishna's got the inside word on the tech in a few minutes' time. We always like to bring you case studies from the UK, from Ireland and around the world, particularly when they perhaps go against the grain a little bit. They're really surprising. They prove something. We're going to go to China for our case study this week. And also, it's one of our top things about music and about copyright that we sometimes mention. Not necessarily on a Facebook Live, but once you've recorded your Facebook Live or any other pre-recorded live stream, and then you do something else with it, and perhaps you think to yourself, oh no, I'll put a little bit of music underneath that, we've got a really ace top tip of how you can avoid being sued by someone whose music you have used. So all that, and maybe we'll squeeze in a little bit more as well in the show in the next 27 minutes or so. 27 minutes because we always try and keep the show to around about 30 minutes in length. We value your minutes, we value your megs. Talking of which, let's go straight ahead and talk about our first piece of news this week. And this is from a website which has been showing and talking about the different kind of stats which are around. And they've done a little bit of research. I'm only going to spend a minute or so on this, but this is from a company which has been crunching the numbers this week. They're called Parks Associates, and this has been reported in martechseries.com over the course of the last 7 days. And they announced that as of Q3 2017, 12% of US broadband houses use a live streaming platform like Facebook Live or Periscope, not necessarily to stream from, but to watch streams from. So not necessarily to push stuff out, but to see stuff as it comes back in, and not necessarily stuff from their own friends and families or other big businesses. Hold on tight, let me explain that for you. The profile for live streamers, says Parks Associates, is generally younger, with 19% of consumers in the 18 to 34 key demographic, and they engage in live streaming activity. But live streaming of TV shows and sports skews a little bit older than that, and that indicates that older viewers might be using these live streaming platforms like Periscope / Twitter and Facebook Live to access illegal streams of content. That's what they reckon. Let's have a look at a few more stats. 8% of broadband households have used live streaming apps to watch TV shows. 7% have used live streaming apps to watch sports. And some sports franchises and leagues are legitimately live streaming their content, of course, but much of the produced content on these live streaming platforms remains unsanctioned. And of course, what they're saying is the people that are doing this illegally, that's 7%, and they're saying, well, you know what, it's just too expensive to get a 24-hour pass for a sports channel or for a film channel to see a new release or to see a particular match or a particular bout. So therefore, we watch illegal live streams of that content, of that copyrighted content, and we get it for free. It's a no-brainer, they say. However, of course, they do stand to lose out. Remember our story last week? I think it was last week or maybe the week before, of the Briton who was live streaming content, and he got landed with a fine. There's a bit of a conversation about how much indeed he was going to be paying at the end. But that's what you do stand to lose, an awful lot more money than the amount that you stop paying, you avoid paying in the meantime. So I thought that was really interesting. So we're not necessarily talking about people who are using live streaming apps to live stream, but that core audience, you know, that 6-7% who are watching live streams illegally of movies, of TV shows, I guess from things like Netflix and Amazon and things like that, and also of sports-rated material as well, according to Parks Associates. You can see some more of those stats in the links that we'll be putting out a little bit later on, just after the programme ends.
Well, as Peter was just explaining at the beginning of the show, one of the stories we wanted to talk about is Facebook. And I get my tongue around this, in terms of their watch parties. So you might have seen me talk about this during the course of the week. I'd put a little post out, and there was a few posts on various different technology platforms. And I would be really interested to know if you have seen this. It is being rolled out just to a small number of groups at the moment. I haven't actually seen it in the wild, so to speak. So if you have, do leave us a comment and let us know what your thoughts are and experiences are of it. So this is something that is not really going to be a surprise to those of you who've been following what is going on with Facebook at the moment. You'll know about the newsfeed algorithm that was announced this week or so ago. And one of the things that was said there is about Facebook being about conversations and communities. And also there's been a huge emphasis in terms of the growth of groups. I've actually seen that a lot in the last 2 years in terms of organizations using groups here on Facebook, far more than they have been doing in terms of LinkedIn groups. But also I'm seeing a lot more groups set up by people in my own network. And so this new feature that's rolling out, and it's been, as I said, trials at the moment, is specifically for groups. And it is going to allow you as an admin or a manager of a group to actually bring a video that's, as long as it's public. Now that could be a live stream like we're doing here now, or it could be a recorded piece of content. So it could be a replay of a video, or it could be some other video content. And it allows you then to have a conversation and have a chat conversation around that video in the group. Now, those of you who are already actually actively looking at Facebook Live, for example, on your mobile, you might have even seen it pop up that you can very easily, have a chat with somebody. You can have a sidebar conversation about what is going on in a live stream already in terms of with our friends. And that's been around for some time. But the difference here is that this is now going to be within groups. And in the announcement that it was made, and I remember that everything that we talk about today, if you've not been with us before, this will be new for you, but everybody else knows that everything we talk about, we curate in a series of links, so you can go off and deep dive into the links that we share. And so in the announcement that was made by Facebook, it talked about the fact that live videos on Facebook generate 6 times more discussion, and Watch Party is actually something that's going to bring that now to recorded videos. There was a really good article that was in TechCrunch that I think you'll find really helpful to look at. And one of the things that was interesting in terms of Zuckerberg has said is that we want the time that people spend on Facebook to encourage meaningful social interactions. And so, as I said, this isn't going to be new news for those of you who actually could see that this kind of feature was going to be rolling out into groups. I do think it's actually going to be really beneficial in terms of, for good reasons, in terms of having an opportunity to talk about topics and video content. I know a lot of people who are running groups as part of a training program and a mentoring program. So you could say, okay, let's evaluate this, or let's learn from this, or what can we take from it? I also can see it being used for, let's say, activism, perhaps around things that you're not so keen at. There's probably some great secret groups that are out there, both for good, but there's also some secret groups, I'm sure, which are around activism for not such good things, and I could imagine that that would be an interesting way that they might use that as well. Co-watching video is already a popular experience, the article goes on to say, on TechCrunch, with platforms like Twitch, and it being centred around the video's creator rather than the interconnected community. And so it'll be interesting to see how this rolls out. But do let us know, have you actually seen this at this point in time? I haven't actually had the opportunity to, but I'll be interested to check it out. In fact, as a participant, when I see it roll out into a group that I'm a member of.
Well, we always like to bring you some unusual case studies, and I guess that's really the definition of case studies. They are a little bit unusual, something that works particularly well. And I guess in live streaming, what we're always after is something which really engages, something which touches people, something which reaches out and makes use of something of the moment, of the zeitgeist. And you know what? If it makes money as well, then all the better. How would you fancy doing a live stream that makes you $1,500 a month? That ain't bad, is it? That's not bad for a month's work. I mean, it's not brilliant money. You know, it's not going to be paying the mortgage and putting food on the table, or both of those together, but it ain't half bad. It's a nice little bit to have in your bank account if it's month by month by month by month, especially if those live streams are really easy to do. Like, I don't know, stuff that you're doing anyway. So you don't actually have to construct a show and put together a story arc and work out exactly what you're going to be saying or learn something new, because you're doing it already. It's your work. You're getting paid twice, once to do the work and once to show people you're doing the work. It sounds like a live stream format made in heaven, doesn't it? And this is what a guy in China is doing. It's one of the hottest trends at the moment in Chinese social media. And it's a guy who's a farmer and he streams his farming. It's as simple and as basic as that. And when I say he's streaming his farming, that's exactly what he's showing. He's got live video of picking weeds and doing a bit of fishing and taking care of the animals and trapping fish in the rice paddies, all sorts of things. He's doing it already, and he's making twice the money. Once for doing it, and once for showing you he's doing it. And we've said so many times, Krishna and I, how much live streaming goes down a storm in China. And Credit Suisse said that they reckon that the Chinese live streaming economy is approaching $3 billion a year. That's how much they reckon it is worth. And that guy there, the gentleman there, who you can see with the camera in hand, is 26. He's a farmer. He's Li Yin Ying, and he's a bit of a minor celebrity because of what he's doing. And you know what? I reckon, Krishna, all this fits into a feeling kind of nostalgia, particularly when, as in China and most other countries around the world, so many people are leaving their agricultural roots behind them. They're moving away from the rural life. They're moving to the cities. And you know what? They're perhaps thinking to themselves, yeah, what are the old skills? You know, the animal programs on TV, the fantastic Blue Planet program made by the BBC, which has been shown around the world, the explorer type programs, you know, the Bear Grylls and people like that, who make something out of nothing when they're trapped on a desert island. I think it's all of that kind of feeling which is incorporated in what Lin Ying is doing, because it's that nostalgia. It's that kind of charming look back at how we used to live. And in fact, this article by Gizmodo.com kind of puts that into perspective and says a lot of people who live in urban China grew up in the countryside. They miss life on the farm and the fun they had when they were kids, you know, just kind of running free and exploring. My most popular moments, says Lee, is when I live stream myself playing with an iron hoop or catching eels and crabs in the rice paddies. So a nice, simple, straightforward live stream that's earning this guy $1,500 a month from 200,000 subscribers. Now, do I know any friendly farmers?
You know, that makes me think about so many different people I know who could do just that, Peter, particularly in terms of thinking about an Irish context where people want to connect with that, and, you know, all our friends in the States who very often have got roots back there. And I really think there's something in this idea that I wonder if Tourism Ireland will catch on to it. And, you know, it's the fact that it's the real farmer, you're connecting with that real maker. And I think that's what people want to do these days. They don't necessarily want to talk to the brand. They want to see the people and understand what's going on. Great to see that article there. And we've got another article related to that same story, which is also being curated for you. So watch out in the comments a little later on. In terms of after the show, we'll have all those links. This week, though, it wasn't a good week for me one day this morning. In terms of one of the things that happened is I had a flurry of emails, all with the same news, and none of it made me happy. And it was to do with YouTube. Perhaps you've got a YouTube channel. I know some of the people who are watching the show, either live or on the replay, have got some very active channels, and they won't be affected too much by what I'm going to be sharing with you now. But I'm affected, and I have to say, there is light at the end of the tunnel for me. But one of the things that happened this week is that YouTube made a change to their partnership program. The partnership program is the one where you can monetize your videos. Now, I have to tell you, I don't monetize any of my videos, and I've got a few different YouTube channels, and that's just a strategic choice I've made. But I do know that lots of people like to use ads on their videos and earn, you know, a little bit more money. One of the things, though, it allows you to do is have some other features in terms of for your YouTube videos, and I'll come on to that a little bit later. So I'm going to read out for you a few things that were said in the announcement, and I've got lots of links for you in terms of additional support that's actually going to be there. If you've got a YouTube channel, I really encourage you to make sure you have a look at this just in case you missed the news this week. And why is this important to us here at Livestream Insiders? Well, you might be using live streaming in terms of on YouTube. Equally, you might do as we do. Every time we have a show here, we actually take the replay and we also publish it over onto YouTube. And in addition, I publish other video content there too. So the announcement from YouTube goes along these lines. They're saying we're making changes to address the issues that affected our community in 2017 so we can prevent bad actors from harming and the inspiring and original creators around the world who make their living on YouTube. A big part of that effort will be strengthening our requirements for monetization so spammers, impersonators and other bad actors can't hurt our ecosystem or take advantage of you, while continuing to reward those who make our platform great. What they did back in April 2017, you might remember that eligibility requirement in terms of for the partnership program was 10,000 lifetime views. Well, the news that's really shaken the YouTube creator community this week is the following, that with immediate effect that they actually are using now eligibility, for monetization. So if you want to turn on the features for monetization, which including being able to earn money from your videos, but other features I'll talk about in a moment, you actually need to have 4,000 hours of watch time. 4,000 hours of watch time in the last 12 months and 1,000 subscribers minimum. And that's where I was personally affected. I don't have either of those things, and I certainly don't have 1,000 subscribers on my main YouTube channel. Even though it's been going for some time, I really want to have people who are really interested in the content, and I'd rather have a smaller group of people who are interested in that rather than just going out to get people who perhaps will never come back and watch my channel again. What's going to happen is anybody who's already got a YouTube channel, like myself, that's already monetized or is part of the partner program, so I could use monetization, from the 20th of February, that is going to be implemented for those thresholds. So for new channels, then it's now, but actually from the 20th of February, if you've got a channel already. That means that a lot of people, and you might have seen them, my newsfeed has been full of lots of people going for the sub for sub. I'll subscribe to your channel if you'll subscribe to my channel. And I do think that that's perhaps not necessarily the best way that you might want to go about it, if it's a general subscribe, because you might be getting people who are never going to come back. So it's great you've got the 1,000 subscribers, but to get that 4,000 hours of view time or watch time in a year, that's really challenging if they're just going to subscribe, and it gives you a false sense of security because they're not going to necessarily come back and watch. So that's something that you need to be aware of. Now, what really was interesting in the announcement is they said that 99% of the people who are affected were making less than $100 a year in the last year, and 90% were earning less than $2.50 in the last month. But this is really hurting the small creators, and I know there are some people who are really demotivated in terms of this move. So I think it's about considering what is it you're using YouTube for. There's a whole bunch of reasons that I use YouTube. It is not about the monetization directly from the ads that I can place on my channel. There's lots of other reasons that you might use YouTube both publicly and privately. Now, one of the things that you might want to have a look at is if you're in a Facebook group where people are talking about similar things, and there might be some collaboration you could do there in terms of working with each other. I'm seeing some people grow their channels really nicely with that, or alternatively, perhaps that is when you each subscribe to each other's channels. But I would just take care in terms of having people subscribe to things that they're never going to be interested in. And I know for sure that, I only subscribe to things that I really want to get notifications for. Some of those notifications come through to me by email because then I get the latest news from those channels I care about. But the thing I was personally concerned about, but thanks to somebody who I know on Twitter, who's a YouTube authority, she caught my tweet when I announced this or shared about the announcement on the day it actually came out. I was really concerned about a feature that we can use with YouTube, and I've been using since it was available to us a little while back, and that's about YouTube cards. So at the end of your YouTube video, you actually can place little cards that actually give people a call to action. Watch another video, go to a playlist, or in fact, link back out to a piece of content, for example, on your website. And you can put other cards during the course of a live stream, a video, and that equally could be a live stream replay. And those other cards can also link out to particular kinds of sites, including your own. And I was concerned about that being a feature which is currently only available for people who are part of the partner program, not being available going forward. However, in the notes that you'll find, there is part of the announcement that actually is referenced to say that actually we are not going to lose that. If we have that feature already, we're not going to lose that. However, there is actually going to be a change, a review of what that's going to mean in the future. But actually what they said is anybody who currently has access to these features will continue to have access even if they are no longer in the YouTube partnership program. We'll be building out new eligibility criteria for this external linking feature. So I was a little bit relieved by that, but I know it's actually upset so many people So let us know, are you affected? Does it hurt you in any way? Are you really concerned about the fact of this is happening? I think it's interesting though about why all these changes have been happening. There's a number of brands who've severed partnerships with YouTube because of some of the issues that they've had there. We've also seen people actually posting inappropriate content. And I do think it's interesting that the people who've been doing that have actually been some of the bigger people in terms of, and yet this approach has been taken, which actually is going to affect all of us with smaller channels. As I said, from my perspective, I'm not so worried. Now I know that I've got that feature that's still available to me. But remember, it's like all the changes we see on the platforms. It's free for us to use. Facebook Live is free for us to use. Twitter is free for us to use. So when they make a change, that's when we have to actually chart that same, kind of charter a new course and actually plan for how we actually want to manage that, because of the fact we're actually building, platforms, we're building visibility on other people's real estate. That always has some risk to go alongside it.
Great thoughts, great insight, as you have come to know and expect from Krishna today, my partner in crime on Livestream Insiders. 4 minutes to go till the end of the show. Just time to mention a couple of other things. And something, first of all, about copyright and copyrighted music. And we mentioned this last week, but let's give it another quick mention this week. And that is, if you repurpose a Facebook Live and you decide to put some music underneath, then you could be done for copyright theft. If it's a really big artist, for example, in fact, any artist who has who's written that particular music, the artist, the people who perform, the publisher, and all sorts of people who are involved with that particular piece of music. But using music on Facebook may not get you in trouble anymore if you use one particular site, and that is via Universal Music. And Facebook, they've got together and they've decided to strike a deal, and that means that any music from Universal Music Group can be licensed for use across Facebook, and of course that includes Instagram and Messenger and Oculus as well. And the whole idea behind this is to open up new music-based experiences online, they say, with rabbit ears either side of that phrase, without the agreement, sharing music that, of course, isn't your own or isn't in the public domain, or perhaps is music that you haven't actually bought outright or even for a limited length of time, whether that be background music or music that you use quite upfront, like in a karaoke kind of session, is copyright violation. And as I say, that music won't be illegal to use if it's from Universal Music Group, and they've got a whole back catalogue because, Taylor Swift is with them, let's put it that way. So, it's a good caliber music. Big fat quote here. Together, Facebook and UMG are creating a dynamic new model for collaboration between music companies and social platforms to advance the interests of recording artists and songwriters while enhancing the social experience of music for their fans. That from Universal Music Group's Executive Vice President of Digital Strategy over the last couple of days. So that's what they've said. So you can breathe a sigh of relief. But of course, as we always say, do check the fine print. Do get out your magnifying glass. Check the details that fit with what you want to do in a situation like this. Krishna.
That's really good news, alongside the sound collection that we talked about some weeks ago in terms of a collection of music that we can use for Instagram and also for Facebook. And so do check that out. We actually posted about it in a previous show. And if you want to message us, I'll also send you a link to a little video that we actually created in terms of showing you how it works. The last story we've got for you, actually, I was truly inspired by, and I went away and watched the replay. This is something that Peter picked up as a piece of news, and it's actually in the States. And we've talked about music and entertainment and sports a lot in terms of being real hotbeds for areas for live streaming, in particular in terms of partnership with some of the live streaming big platforms. So, you've seen news also partner in that way. In this particular case, I really liked it because it's actually about high school basketball recruits. And I thought that's clever in terms of getting that young audience. And in fact, the brand who's actually behind it is Gatorade. And the hashtag for the campaign is called The Debut, Debut, Thedebut. And boy, I actually was really inspired by what I saw. And I'll tell you why in a little while. But one of the things that's happened is that Gatorade have developed this alongside with Twitter and also a digital agency. It's basically they're talking about in the announcement is it's a unique offering and it's in line with our commitment to finding interactive engagement with consumers in an unexpected way. And that was their head of consumer engagement. Sports in general and basketball in particular is well connected to the Twitter platform, no matter whether you're looking at college, professional or high school games. So we thought, why not give live streaming basketball series a try? I thought that was really pretty inspired. Now, again, in our notes, we'll have a link for you to be able to go and watch the replay. And I did. And can you guess how many people might have watched it? And in fact, when I looked at the tweets from yesterday, it said, you know, we've got actually clearly the people who are involved, the coaches and so on, were pretty thrilled with what's going on because they said, can you see we've got 2 million views? Well, when I checked on it today, probably about, I don't know, 10 hours ago or so now, it was 3.2 million views. And so I am sure those guys are all really, really excited about that. What I thought was truly inspiring, though, was the fact that when I actually went along to have a look at it, the people who were involved, the commentators, did an excellent job in terms of interacting with the audience who were watching and bringing their questions in and answering their questions. And I rarely see that in terms of on some big events and particularly in terms of sports events. But I thought they did a great job, and maybe that's because they have to be a little less precious because it's a high school tournament. And I don't know, but I just thought it was really, really well done. The other thing it said is sports represent a significant proportion of live streams on Twitter. It talks about in this article from Digiday. High school basketball is a massive untapped opportunity for us, and given the amount of engagement we have in this category, we believe that the debut will resonate with all the basketball fans on Twitter, although it's a high school specific program. I thought, well done. I think it was really interesting. I didn't realise that Gatorade had actually been, around for quite so much time. And in fact, if you look at their Twitter account, it says fueling athletic performance for more than 50 years. So it's completely on brand for them. But let me tell you one other little insight I had. I had a look at their Twitter account and I had a look at their Facebook page. And you know what? I know that even big brands find it challenging to actually create content for their social streams. They've got so many other things that they're doing. Their Facebook page has not got too many posts on publicly in terms of organic posts. And it might be that they're actually doing a lot of paid advertising. So, we don't see that because that's dark posts. But in terms of on Twitter, again, not too many kind of posts in terms of on a very frequent basis. The insight I had is when they're doing these 8 different basketball matches, one of the things that you've got then is a huge amount of content, and they can actually make use of that content to keep new things going on or replays going on to their streams as well. So I think there's lots of opportunities here for Gatorade. Well done. Really great to give a spotlight and shine a light on those youthful teams. And I have to say, I had some fun watching it. And so if you're interested, even a little bit in terms of the sport, it's definitely worth going and checking out. And again, it's another one I could actually see great opportunities for in terms of for youth sports with other platforms and also for other sports around the world.
So what have we covered? We've had some stats, we've had a little bit of tech, we've had a bit of copyright, we've had a couple of fantastic case studies, all from the last 7 days and all in the last 30 minutes. That is our, and let's go a little bit continental here, it is our raison d'etre here on Livestream Insiders. And we're here at the same time, which is on a Sunday night, UK and Ireland time at 7 p.m. and the equivalent time, of course, live wherever you are on planet Earth. And of course, you can always catch up on this episode and all of our back catalogue of the last 116 shows every week for the last 116 of them, where we review the tech and the tips and the production and the presentation, everything to do with live stream, whether it be, and what have we mentioned this week? We've mentioned Twitch, and we've mentioned Periscope, and we've mentioned Facebook Live, of course, all over the last just over 30 minutes. Thank you so much indeed for the loan of your eyes and your ears. We'll catch up with you in another 7 days. Good night.